Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Monday. It's the first real business day of 2026. We're slogging our way through it together. Your reward for the next 3 hours is 580 Sports Talk here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our streaming video channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. However, wherever, whenever you're tuned into the program today, thanks for being a part of the audience here on 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a bit. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. Happy Monday, each and every one of you. For those who didn't make it all the way back with us for our first show of the new year last Friday, welcome back to 580 Sports Talk. We got a full week of shows ahead of you, and it's our final Chiefs post-mortem show of the 2025 season. It's going to be a long off season for the Chiefs, much longer than we're used to, much longer than they're used to. 2025 season in the books after a desultory 14-12 loss to the Las Vegas Raiders yesterday afternoon. If you watched all of that and you weren't obligated to for reasons of what your job is or at gunpoint, if you watched all 3 hours of that game of your own volition, your own free will, God bless you, because that was as bad as football gets. And then in the end, you didn't even get rewarded by your favorite team winning if you were rooting for the Chiefs. I know we have some Raiders fans in the audience. You didn't even get rewarded with the Chiefs win. If you stuck it out through all of that, you didn't get rewarded with scoregami. We were inches away from either the first 11-9 game in NFL history or the first 12-11 game in NFL history. But the Chiefs had to go and screw that up. Although, you know, Daniel Carlson making a 60-yard field goal, those aren't gimmies. Like you saw those kicks at the end of the last game of the night last night, right? Like 60 yards should not be that easy. And kickers just make that look more and more easy these days. So it's a 60-yard field goal that dooms the Chiefs to a loss. They lose out. They go 0-6 in their final 6 games of 2025. And thanks to the loss, instead of picking 10th or maybe 11th in the draft, not sure how the tiebreaker would have worked with them or Miami, they picked 9th. So all that losing that y'all were rooting for, you were rooting so hard for the Chiefs to lose yesterday, it got you 2 spots in the draft. I promise you that's not that big a difference. But if that's what you were rooting for, I hope from that perspective at least you enjoyed yesterday's Chiefs game, because there really wasn't any other perspective through which to enjoy yesterday's Chiefs game unless you were in fact rooting for the Raiders or you were the kind of sicko that had American currency on some sort of wager on the outcome of that game. We'll talk about it. There's not much to say about the game itself, but I'm troubled, guys, by the state of the Chiefs going into the offseason. I am troubled. I am concerned. I see warning signs. And it's not a skid that can't be steered out of or into, I guess. I don't, they say steer into the skid sometimes, but maybe that's a terrible metaphor. It's a Monday. Forgive me. I don't think that these are problems that can't be solved, but there are warning signs. There are warning lights flashing on the dashboard right now for the Kansas City Chiefs going into this 2025 offseason. And it's not just down to Patrick Mahomes not being on the field, though that certainly is a big part of why the offense looks like the way the offense did in the final 3 games without 15 under center. Some things I really don't like. Some habits that I see being developed that to me do not bode well if there is not an immediate course correction for the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll get into that on today's show. We'll also take a big picture look at the NFL. The playoffs are going on. I know it's weird to imagine the playoffs without Patrick Mahomes, but imagine them we must, because they will start on Saturday without Mahomes and Reed and the Chiefs. And it is the most wide open feeling NFL playoffs since, well, you tell me. We've been saying it all year, and I think it's crystallized as being true as we have finally now arrived at the NFL postseason. There's just not much separation between the teams in this playoff field. There are 14 teams in the playoff. Honest to goodness, I can make a case for 12 teams winning the Super Bowl. And not because I think those 12 teams are so great. I just don't think there's any one team that you would say would blow away the competition or doesn't have a bad matchup potentially in front of them. All due respect to the Panthers and the Steelers, but you're going to get a nice consolation prize after you lose your playoff openers coming up this weekend. The other 12 of them, though, the other 12 of the playoff season, I can make a case. The case is there to be made for the others. And I don't think that has been reality for the better part of what? Well, the Mahomes era, right? Because that used to be the criteria. Can you beat 15 in a game that matters? If you can't, you're not winning a championship. And there were very few teams that could answer yes to that question. But now the science is a little different. So we'll get into that as well. Some NFL talk exiting Week 18 and starting to look ahead to this Chiefless postseason. Game 1 of Big 12 basketball season is in the books. Both KU and K-State start 0-1. Not a discouraging loss for Kansas State at home against BYU, but maybe not encouraging either. Just kind of what you expect sometimes when you're the outside the top 70 in Ken Palm and you play the number 10 team in the country. Sometimes you get beat. And that's what happened for K-State. But a path forward for wins in the future, I think, was on display for Kansas State. We'll talk about that. Also, KU continues to be a hostage to Darryn Peterson's hamstring. And Peterson was really good. Nobody else was for Kansas. And when Peterson couldn't play anymore after the 11-minute mark, Kansas didn't have enough answers, and they lose in Orlando again to a UCF team that's probably better than we're giving them credit for, but still not a team that it feels like Kansas should ever lose to under any circumstances. So we'll get into some college hoops on the show as well today. Got a great guest coming up, bottom of this hour, as always on a Monday. Matt Verderame, our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated, SI.com, will join us. He'll help us make heads or tails of that Chiefs finale. We'll get into the offseason a little bit, offseason priorities for the Chiefs, and we'll talk about the other news around the league today. 4 coaches have already gotten the axe, unless there's been one that's gotten fired in the last 15 minutes. And we will get his perspective on the NFL playoffs and an early look, maybe some early predictions from Matt Verderame, our NFL insider. He'll join us in about 20 minutes or so here on the program. Plus, our typical Monday shenanigans on the show. We got the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was. We'll start a new week of What Is Wrong With You. We got headlines, lots of transfer portal stuff. If you haven't been able to keep up with the transfer portal stuff, we'll help you do it as best we can coming up in that 5 o'clock hour. There's lots of headlines to get to on the show today. Plus, we want to hear from you. Your voices are encouraged on the show today. Want to hear from you on the text line? 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429. Can also interact in the live chat on the YouTube stream. If you are watching the program on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, hop in that live chat. Say hello. And if you've never watched on YouTube before, why don't you check it out today? Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are up to 887 YouTube subscribers. When we get to 900, we're doing karaoke. 580 Sports Talk Idol. All 3 of us going to sing, perform for you. 13 subscribers away. You can get us there. I bet there are 13 of you out there who could get us there today. I know there's at least one of you who can get us one step closer by slamming that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Hey, hello to Vance, Trevor, and Tyler in the chat today. Mark's in as well. Good to see you. Hi to Terry in the Facebook comments. Appreciate hearing from you folks. Thanks for being a part of the show so far today. I'll give Trevor the first word here as we discuss the final Chiefs game of 2025. Raiders 14, Chiefs 12. I watched the whole thing. It was maybe the worst game I've ever watched. If it wasn't the worst NFL game I've ever seen, it's in the team photo, so to speak. It was a dire football game with some of the worst quarterback play that I've ever seen. Both teams played 2 quarterbacks apiece. And if those quarterbacks ever have to start another NFL game or appear in another NFL game the rest of their careers, that team that they're playing for, whoever it is in some trouble. Kenny Pickett and Aiden O'Connell at least don't have the excuse of being new to this largely. Those are established NFL guys. They just stink that bad. Chris Oladokun, I think, emphatically answered the question that maybe was surrounding him coming out of the Denver game, going into this Raiders game. Can Chris Oladokun actually play at the NFL level, like go and make plays and be a ball mover as a quarterback? The answer is no. The answer is no. Chris Oladokun is not going to be the guy to maneuver the Chiefs through the offseason program and maybe be the week one starter if Patrick Mahomes isn't ready. I think we can check that box. It was a long shot, and it's not going to cash. So agents across the National Football League today who represent veteran backup quarterbacks already filling the voicemail box of Brett Veach saying, hey, we know you're going to need a guy. I've got a guy. We know you're going to need, and honestly, the Chiefs might need two. Because they can't be in a spot where they got to go to Chris Oladokun next year. That can't happen. They might need two guys. They might need two vets to carry them through the offseason program, potentially through the early portion of the 2026 schedule. Because it can't be Chris Oladokun. He can't take care of the football. He can't read pressure. It didn't work. Oh, well. We tried. He was not good. Shane Buechele was not a whole lot better. That all being said, though, it still looked like the Chiefs might pull it out, if not for a 60-yard field goal with 8 seconds left to play. And that's just kind of season it was for the Chiefs. They lost for the 10th time in a one-score game this season. 1-10 in one-score games. Only the 2014 Tampa Bay Buccaneers have ever had worse fortune in that many one-score games in an NFL season as the Chiefs experienced this year. And we have to be fair about this, right? Because last season, when the Chiefs were winning all of those one-score games, something that we came back to, a point that we came back to over and over again on this show is winning is a habit. Sometimes you win because you know how. It is as simple as knowing how. It is knowing when the play needs to be made and then going and making it. Making fewer mistakes than your opponent in a close game. Not making critical mistakes in critical situations. Letting the other team do that. Letting the other team blow their field goal block so Leo Chanel gets a paw on that game-winning field goal for the Broncos that preserves a win. Or the snap off the quarterback's knee that helped the Chiefs squeak by the Raiders on Black Friday last year. Those kinds of things. Those are teams who have done their fair share of losing in recent years, exhibiting losing habits. And the Chiefs exhibiting winning habits. They did it over and over again. They've done it over and over again for the better part of Andy Reid's entire tenure as the head coach, certainly for the better part of Patrick Mahomes' tenure as the starting quarterback. Winning habits beget winning results, and winning creates those winning habits. But just as quickly as winning habits can set in, losing habits can too. And that's why I was insistent it was important for the Chiefs to get something out of the end of this season. Even if it cost them, 2 whole draft slots, they needed to prove that they still had that ability to finish a football game, to win a football game. And instead, they have lost 6 games in a row going into 2026. And, there was a part of me that was a little skeptical when Mitch Holthus brought up the idea of preseason games too, and add that to the full mix, the full picture of what 2025 was, because the Chiefs went 0-3 in the preseason, remember? And they had that one preseason game where they were up big, and then their second and third and fourth string guys, none of whom you can remember anymore, blew that lead. I think it was to the Bears. And gave up the losing touchdown with a second left. And I'm not saying that was a harbinger for things to come necessarily, but I do think that losing habits can set in just as quickly as winning habits set in. And we saw losing habits set in for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2025. And this goes back to even when Patrick Mahomes was healthy and playing behind an offensive line that featured real NFL players and not guys like Esapole and Chu Godric. The losing habits began then. They began in week 1. They began with that trip to Brazil, that inability to get off the field on third down. Chris Jones thinking about a sack instead of a rush lane and allowing Justin Herbert to scramble for that game-winning first down. There's a reason Drew Tranquill ripped Chris Jones's head off on the sideline about that, and they got into a shouting match. Because that's not a winning habit. That's a selfish habit. Selfish teams lose. That was the canary in the coal mine. In the end, was that performance in week 1. Week 2, you drop a touchdown and it turns into an interception in a game you lose by a score. And it's not just anybody who does that. It's your rock. It's your future Hall of Famer. It's your offensive leader, Travis Kelce. Losing habits. Losing habits generally aren't that dramatic. Typically, it's not the biggest moment, the biggest play in the game. But sometimes the losing habit is starting to drive with a false start, putting yourself in a 3rd and 18 instead of a 3rd and 13, making a bad situation worse because you false start. It's not lining up appropriately. It's not finishing a sack. It's a blitz not getting home. It's a coverage getting blown. It's the detailed things that lead to losses. It's the missed kick. The Chiefs developed losing habits in 2025, and that is why they were a losing football team. They were a losing football team before Patrick Mahomes got hurt. Remember, they were 6-7 and about to be 6-8 when Mahomes' knee blew up, and they finished 6-11. And frankly, they lost 2 of their final 3 games to teams that they had more talent than, even with Patrick Mahomes hurt. You're telling me that Chiefs roster didn't have more talent than the Titans or the Raiders rosters, and they still lost those games. And at some point, like, you have to care about that. Oh, I know. You're excited to have a top 10 draft pick. But losing habits are hard to root out. It is a toxin that seeps into your locker room. You don't believe me? Look at the teams in this league who lose over and over and over and over again. You think it's an accident that the Jets suck and have sucked for the better part of 20, 25 years? You think that's a mistake? You think it's a mistake the Raiders suck? They keep losing and every coach they hire keeps being the wrong one? Losing gets in the walls, man. It's like black mold. And those habits, those things can set in just as quickly as winning can. And one coach who should know this is Andy Reid, because this is how things ended for him in Philadelphia. When the winning habits that the Eagles had developed all those years, going to all those NFC Championship games, even though they never finished the deal, even though they never won the big one, they were always good. They were always competitive. They were always there at the end, right up until they weren't. And when it started to go south in Philadelphia, it wasn't just because the caliber of quarterback play had slipped, or the caliber of talent on the roster had slipped. Certainly that's part of it. I'm not going to sit here and talk about that Chiefs team that took the field yesterday, even though it had more talent than the Raiders, like that was the full strength Chiefs. We can be honest about that. We can say, oh yeah, well that's, Chris Oladokun behind Shu Godric throwing to Jalen Royals. And Dameon Pierce got a carry. Jared Wiley was out there a bunch. There's a lot of faces that were out there that aren't going to play in another meaningful game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's true. But if you hand wave too much of it away, you risk becoming okay with the process stuff that it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're Travis Kelce or Jared Wiley. You're the first tackle on the depth chart or the 7th. That stuff isn't okay because it loses you football games. And the objective at the end of the day is to win. And this team couldn't figure out how. After years where it seemed like they could not win, they feel like they'd trip and fall into wins. This team couldn't even do that. 1-10 in one-score games this year. That doesn't happen unless the standard is slipping. And this is what happened to Andy Reid in Philadelphia. And ultimately, that was why Andy Reid got run out of Philadelphia. So that's the danger. That's the warning sign. That's the flashing danger ahead sign or the check engine light that's on the Chiefs bandwagon as we drive from 2025 to 2026. But this is the good news. This is the uplifting point I'll leave you on. Other than it's not going to be Chris Oladokun behind Hugh Godric week 1 of 2026. Andy Reid did not get to where he has gotten and did not have the success that he had in Kansas City without being able to understand where he had failed in Philadelphia. Why things had gone south in Philadelphia. They made the changes. They righted the ship right away in Kansas City because Andy Reid was able to evolve, was able to self-evaluate and say, okay, I got to do this differently. He has been here before and will understand what has to be done to avoid this story ending the same way his Philadelphia story ended. We're going to take a time out here at 580 Sports Talk. We'll come back. We'll get your reaction. Looking for your thoughts on the YouTube comments today. The YouTube live chat, 580 Sports Talk. Also on the text line, 785-272-9429. Going to hear from you after this timeout. Matt Verderame, our NFL insider, joins us in about 10 minutes as well. We've got college hoops to get to, NFL playoffs, what is wrong with you's coming down the pike, lots of transfer portal news to give you on the show later on. We're just getting started here on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. .30, just getting started on this edition of 580 Sports Talk on this Monday afternoon. Let's get to some of your thoughts on the live chat on our YouTube stream. Again, you can hop in the live chat watching the show live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. See if get to some thoughts here. Vance said of the two Chiefs quarterbacks yesterday, Shane Buechele looked better. I said on the instant reaction on our YouTube last night, I don't think the Chiefs had a better deep ball all season long than the Shane Buechele to Hollywood Brown connection that set up the go-ahead field goal in the fourth quarter. I think that was the best deep ball of the year, dropped between two defenders. in stride to Hollywood Brown. I don't think Mahomes threw a better deep ball than that all year to anybody. That was there was one to Tyquan Thornton that was pretty good, but Shane Buechele looked a lot better than Chris Oladokun. Oladokun couldn't take care of the football. At the end of the day, like that's what's going to get you a one-way ticket back to the practice squad forever and for always. And there's a reason he was a third-string guy in the first place. But you can't take care of the football. They can't put you on the field. They cannot put you on the field. Vance also asking, I think it was Vance asking, trying to find the comment if I can. Yeah, asking if Matt Nagy has been fired yet. I have wonderful news. Matt Nagy is not currently under contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. Not because they fired him, just because he doesn't have a contract. His agent has done some really great work planting the seed of his name out there as a possibility for openings. There's a report out there that both he and Steve Spagnuolo are going to get interviews with the Tennessee Titans, whose GM, Mike Borgonzi, obviously came from the Chiefs organization. And whoever hires Matt Nagy, I wish them all the best because they are going to need it. And the Chiefs are going to have a new offensive coordinator next year. I'll just go ahead and I think that's like the least bold and spicy take I could give you to start 2026. The Chiefs are going to have a new offensive coordinator next year. It's not going to be Matt Nagy. They're not bringing it back. If they wanted to bring him back, they would have dotted the I's, crossed the T's on that contract for next year. It's very purposeful that not only is he not under contract for next year, but that we all know that he's not under contract for next year. Paul makes a good point here. Holding the opponent under 30 should have won every single game with the talent on this offense, but it never fully felt like it came together. The overall theme was accidental luck and dysfunction. Yeah, I think that the healthy portion of the Chiefs season definitely marked by a feeling of the whole was not as good as the sum of the parts. And then we saw that actually the sum of these parts is 15 is carrying a lot of weight when it comes to the sum of these parts. And that's all true. Like that is 100% true. In addition to the point that I'm trying to make about the little things you do that get you beat, the penalties, the drop passes into turnovers, the inability to get a stop when you need one, the inability to get off the field on third down, the inability to get negative plays on defense. Those are all factors here. You don't go from 15 wins to 6 with only one thing being wrong, right? It's not just one thing, but it's a lot of things, and it's things that are uncomfortably close, I think, to the way things wound down for Andy Reid in Philadelphia, which I think is both good and bad. Bad because he never righted the ship in Philadelphia, and they ran him out of town, and that was just how that ended there. But good because Andy Reid has been adaptable his entire career and has learned from mistakes his entire career. He maybe hasn't been as adaptable as fans would like in certain scenarios. He's never going to be the run the ball coach ever, but he's adaptable. And one thing I don't doubt going into this offseason is there are going to be some things about the operation next year that look a lot different. A lot different. And they need to. They need to. Andrew points out the belief, and this has been fairly widespread, I think. The belief that this never would have happened if Eric Bieniemy had still been the Chiefs offensive coordinator. And I think that is a little bit overstated. I do think there's something to the idea that Bieniemy was a little bit more in your face with guys than Matt Nagy, who's more of a, I guess you'd call him a player's coach, a little more buddy with guys. Like, you can see that. You can see he has really good relationships with guys in that locker room, and they like him. Like, you don't go and watch your boss's kid play high school football if you don't like your boss, right? So for Chiefs players who have gone and watched like Tate Nagy play high school football games, that says a lot about the regard that they hold Matt Nagy in. Eric Bieniemy, a little bit more of an in-your-face kind of guy, a little bit more of an accountability kind of guy. I don't think that that's the deus ex machina for what would have fixed the Chiefs necessarily. But I do think that there's a point there about the slipping of standards that sometimes things get a little easy and you get a little chummy and you get a little relaxed. You start to relax a little bit. You start to rest on your laurels, maybe just a little bit. Maybe there was something to that with these Chiefs as well. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with Matt Verderame, our NFL insider. We'll get his thoughts on the end of the Chiefs 2025 season and a look ahead to the NFL playoffs. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Matt Verderame, our NFL insider who covers the league for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also has his subscriber-only Patreon, the Matt Verderame Show, that you can subscribe to for more great insight. And you can catch him on That Football Show on the KC Sports Network. Matt, I said on yesterday's instant reaction on our YouTube channel that I no longer fear hell after having watched Raiders-Chiefs yesterday. One of the most abominable football games I have ever watched. Am I overreacting, or is it maybe not good for the Chiefs to go into this offseason on a 6-game losing streak? I'm concerned about losing becoming a habit like winning becomes a habit. Is that a bit of an overreaction, or did the way the Chiefs finish this season, even without Patrick Mahomes, maybe feel a little bit disconcerting?
I think it's an overreaction in the sense I don't think it's going to have any bearing how they play next year. But the reason I don't think it's going to have any bearing on the way they play next year is I think about half this roster is gone. So, I mean, look, I can tell you right now from talking to people around and inside that building, there's going to be a lot of changes. Like this is not going to be, hey, we cut 3 guys and we let 3 guys walk and we're just going to retool it a little bit. I think this is going to be – I would not be surprised if this is the start of a multi-year overhaul of this roster. And that doesn't mean they're going to be bad next year. I mean, as long as you have a healthy Mahomes, he comes back week 1, I don't think they'll be bad. Hell, I pick them to win the division. But I think that they understand, look, they pushed this thing as far as they could. And this year was a byproduct of injuries, a suspension, some bad luck, and frankly, just bad play, bad coaching, bad play. They took this run for 7 years, and now this being the 8th, obviously the end of it, all the way to the limit. And there's a cost with that. Now it's time to, to pay off the credit card, if you will. They maxed it out. And, the good side of it is you're starting off with the best player on earth in the prime of his career, and you've got some very good young talent around him on both sides of the ball. But I think what this losing streak in this year showed them is this isn't a one or two guy thing. I mean, this is going to be, you're going to have to overhaul a lot of depth, probably 7 or 8 starters. This is not just going to be them going into free agency, finding 3 guys off the street, and then you're all set.
Of the guys who are free agents, pending free agents for the Chiefs, do you feel like any of them are going to be high priorities? Or let me ask this a question a different way. Who or what is the top offseason priority for the Chiefs? The one, like last year, it was the Trey Smith thing. Like that was the box they had to check before they felt like they could move on. They've had other off seasons where they've had a very obvious box to check. One year it was Chris Jones, and that dragged on. But what's the box the Chiefs need to check this offseason, that first thing, that first item on their checklist?
I think in terms of their pending free agents, it's Brian Cook. I think he far and away is the guy. Now, look, you could argue Jalen Watson, which is fair. I would argue really should be both of them. But I think Cook is the guy because if they lost Watson but they have Williams and Fulton, you'd at least be able to go, okay, they've got 2 outside corners who can play. Assuming they keep Fulton, we'll see what they do. That's a 50-50 one because the dead cap is meaningful there. If they lose Cook, who's playing safety? I mean, Jaden Hicks looks terrific at times, but they clearly don't trust him. Spagnuolo flat out said about a month ago that he makes way too many mistakes. Tamari Connor is, I think, a good safety. He's not a very good slot. In fact, he's an abominable slot corner, but he's a good safety. But they like to play him all over the place. I think you need Cook. I think they will pay him. They have paid safeties in the past. It's a position they value in Spagnuolo's defense. We saw a big contract for Tyrann Mathieu. Saw a fairly big contract for Justin Reed. I think you're going to see one for Cook. After those 2 guys, who do you even want back? I mean, maybe Chanel, like on a cheap deal. Who else? Who else is there that's hitting free agency for the Chiefs? Hunt as a short yardage back for $1 million. I mean, there's not many. Like there are maybe 3 guys that are free agents for the Chiefs that you'd be like, I would like to see them back in red and gold.
What are the chances of significant coaching staff overturn? We've talked about Matt Nagy. Everybody knows he's out of contract as this season comes to an end. But what do you think the chances are that there's more than just maybe 1 or 2 position coaches who is maybe patted on the back and wished well, and the Chiefs maybe look at retooling the coaching staff as much as they retool the roster?
I think they should. I don't think they will. I think there's a very good chance Nagy's gone. Obviously, as you mentioned, he's a free agent right now. His contract expired. It's been put out there a lot that A, he's a candidate in Tennessee. B, that even if he doesn't get that job, he wants to be calling the plays. But he's not calling the plays in Kansas City. That's been well established, not only with Matt Nagy, but with every other offensive coordinator they've had there, with the exception of Peterson, who I think called him for like half a year one year. I think that there's a chance they move off of maybe the receivers coach, the running backs coach, who, by the way, was an NFL receiver. Go figure. I don't think anybody on the defensive side of the ball is in any danger. I don't think they should be. Tobe, I think is going to be back unless he retires. I don't think they're going to fire Dave Tobe. But I would say this. Look, I think this is going to be overblown a little bit in one sense. Their offensive problems, I do think Nagy should go. I think their attention to detail offensively, which is what he is responsible for, is disastrous week in and week out. But Andy's going to call the plays, no matter who's there. And it's going to be Andy's scheme. And if he doesn't revamp the way he runs the offense, none of this matters. They could bring in Kevin Stefanski, Eric Bieniemy, you name the guy, Vince Lombardi. None of it matters if Andy doesn't overhaul the way he runs the offense, the way the scheme works. And that's going to be the big challenge that he faces over the next 5 months or so.
Matt Verderame is our NFL insider, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline, as he does every Monday on this program. Check out his work at SportsIllustratedSI.com. We've got a playoff field all set. Week 18 in the books. We have our 14 playoff teams and our first-round matchups. Without the big bad wolf, Patrick Mahomes, that's what he's been in the playoffs the last 7 years. When was the last time you remember it feeling this wide open as far as the possibilities for how many teams could realistically, flaws and all, make a run to pick up a Lombardi trophy?
Probably about 15 years ago. Probably one of those years where the Pats were good but kind of down. Like the year like the Ravens won the Super Bowl in 2012. A year where you looked at it and went, okay, it could be Baltimore, could be New England, could be Pittsburgh, could be Seattle or San Francisco, Green Bay, fill in the blank. Probably then, because let's be real. I mean, the last decade, it's been either New England or Kansas City. I mean, it's just every year. You figure one of those teams, over the years is the overwhelming favorite. And the bare minimum is going to be playing on Championship Sunday. And then it's just a matter of like who else joins them. Look, I think the only teams in the playoffs this year that you look at and just say, there's just no way that team makes a run. The Steelers, the Panthers, and I think the Chargers. The other 11 teams, you can make a case that all get to the Super Bowl. Like, I don't think Chicago is going to do it, but they're a 2 seed. Like, could they win 2 home games and then pull it out? Yeah, I mean, they could do it. Denver, I don't love Denver's offense is hideous, but like, they're home for 2 games. They could do it. Houston's defense is awesome. Buffalo has Josh Allen. The Rams are super talented. Seattle is a 1 seed. They're very talented. Darnold plays well. They're good enough to do it, right? They only have to win 2 home games. The Niners have a wealth of experience. They've got stars. Like, there's, to me, of the 14 teams in the playoffs, there's only really 3 of them that if they ever somehow got to the Super Bowl, you'd be like, wow, I'm stunned they did it. Everybody else, you throw them in a hat and mix it up and pick 2 names.
As a Seahawks fan, I remind you there is a right answer to this upcoming question. But of the 1 seeds, and I don't remember the last time there was a pair of 1 seeds that were this roundly distrusted, even in some pockets by their own fans. Which of the 1 seeds, Denver or Seattle, do you feel like has the most realistic path to winning a Super Bowl?
Seattle. And not because you're a Seattle fan.
Well, okay. Just clear that up. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, because first of all, Seattle's defense is every bit as good as Denver's defense. I'd even argue I think Seattle's defense at times is tougher to deal with because of all the different things they can do. They have a million guys up front, and so does Denver. But the one thing Seattle does, Seattle's run defense is just awesome in a way that Denver's at times, you can kind of run on Denver at times. Not always, but it can be a little leaky. Seattle, though, the difference is Seattle's got a real offense. Great 2-headed monster at running back. Look, Smith-Njigba, obviously, fantastic outside. Barner's not a big receiving threat, but he's an excellent blocker at tight end. Kupp is a veteran. Shaheed has given them an extra dimension. He's a great returner as well. They, to me, I wouldn't even be remotely surprised. If they get to the Super Bowl, I think they're going to kill whoever comes out of the AFC. I don't think it's going to be a game. If they played the Bills, I think they'd beat the Bills by 20 points. Like, I really do. If Denver gets to the Super Bowl, it's going to be because that defense is just absolutely lights out, and Nix doesn't kill them on the way there. Nix is just, 20 to 30 for $180 and a touchdown, and they can just win the game 16 to 13. Like, that's whereas I think Seattle, as they've shown the last couple weeks, they could win a low-scoring game. They can win a game 35-31. And that, to me, is the sign of a team that's a really good team.
A couple more questions for Matt Verderame, our NFL insider, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Wine and Spirits Hotline, Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. 4 coaches fired today on this Black Monday. Raheem Morris out in Atlanta. Kevin Stefanski gets the axe in Cleveland. The Raiders firing Pete Carroll. Jonathan Gannon gets canned in Arizona. Along with the Giants and the Titans, that makes 6 vacancies across the league. Which one right now is the most attractive of those head coaching vacancies?
I think the Giants. Like, to me, it's a process of elimination, right? I mean, the Titans, Ward has some talent, but that team is so far away. The Raiders and the Browns are horrific jobs. Horrific. I know the Raiders have the number 1 overall pick. That team outside of Bowers and Crosby, they may trade Crosby. They have nobody. And the Browns have been awful my entire life. The Cardinals' job, where do you even start? They don't have a quarterback. They've been bad for the better part of 80 years. The Giants, you look at them and say, I think you got a quarterback. You've got stable ownership that wants to win. You've got a lot of pieces on the defensive front 7. You've got a high draft pick. You've got some cap space. You've got a star receiver in Neighbors. Scatterboo and Tyrone Tracy, you can run with them. You got a franchise left tackle. If they bring back Wan'Dale Robinson, he's a good player. I mean, you got a lot to work with there. Like, that team, as bad as they've been, that's a team with talent. And look, they play in New York. I mean, that's a team that you're going to get free agents to go there. They're willing to spend money. If I'm the coach, it's not even a question. The Giants. The Giants is the best job.
How quickly does Kevin Stefanski get another job? Because I happen to think he's probably a pretty good coach that's been saddled with an impossible situation there in Cleveland.
Oh, I think in the league circles, he's viewed as a very good coach. A very good coach. If he wants to get into this cycle, he'll get a job immediately. And I got to tell you, if I was the Giants, I'd call him up right now. You want the job? Because if you do, it's yours. Because this is not a great cycle of coaches. It's at least it's not thought to be anyway. I mean, it could obviously prove differently, but you look around the league. Jesse Minter's a coordinator in the Chargers organization. He coordinated with people like a lot of Chris Shula, who people like the Rams. There are some, but it's not a sexy group. It's not a group that you look at and go, man. Jeff Hafley of the Packers and people like him. We'll see. I know Spagnola's got a couple interviews. He's older. He's the coordinator. It's not a great group. So Stefanski, I kind of almost view him in the same way I view Vrabel when he left Tennessee. Where, like, if he wants a job, he's going to get one. I think he would be a great fit in New York.
All right, 2 quick hitters for you, Matt, to send you out of here. Number one, which wild card weekend game are you the most excited to watch as a fan of the sport?
I think the Eagles and Niners, just because I think that's the best game. I think from a storyline standpoint, it's Jacksonville and Buffalo. If Buffalo doesn't beat Jacksonville, and I frankly, I don't think they should. I think Jacksonville's actually better than them. But, that is going to be an unbelievable storyline coming into Monday if they lose that game. So those are the two I would say to kind of hedge my bet. I'm most excited to watch.
And we've had, a close to 24 hours now with the playoff bracket. Gut reaction, what is the Super Bowl matchup? Who's coming out of each conference?
Patriots and the Rams. I think they're the two least flawed teams. Although I will say this, if Darnold plays well, I would pick Seattle. If Darnold's delay, I think New England gets out of the AFC. If you said to me Darnold has no turnovers in 2 games, they get there. If he doesn't play particularly well, give me the Rams. I'll take the Rams and the Pats. It's still a safe.
No turnovers in 2 games for Sam Darnold. Your lips to God's ears, man. Verderame, our NFL insider who joins us every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. Check out his work at sportsillustrated.si.com. Also, the Matt Verderame Show, his own subscriber-only Patreon. Subscribe to that for more great insight. Matt, always a pleasure. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
That is Matt Verderame. We'll step aside for a break, come back with the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was to wrap up this first hour of this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. The good, the bad, the ugly from the sports weekend that was. Start with my good from the Division III Football National Championship game last night. I bet you didn't know that was going on while the Ravens and the Steelers were playing a really exciting and compelling NFL football game to wrap up the 2025 season. But as that was happening, the Division III football national championship was being contested. Wisconsin River Falls, who at one point had 19 consecutive losing seasons, upsets previously unbeaten Division III powerhouse North Central to bring home their first national championship. And the head coach at Wisconsin River Falls was my college baseball coach, Matt Walker, DePauw alum. He had been the baseball and the football coach at DePauw. He was the coach of both while I was there. Wonderful guy. And that's probably how he was able to survive his first 3 seasons, where he won a total of 3 games at River Falls. Stuck it out for 15 seasons there, helped to develop one of the fastest paced and most prolific offenses in the country this year, and they pulled off the national championship. So I'm happy for my guy Walk, and I'm happy for the folks at River Falls, national champions in Division III. Thought that was really, really cool. Also, the Seahawks got the 1 seed. That was kind of awesome. Didn't expect that back in August. My bad from the weekend. Just feel terrible for any kicker who misses a clutch kick. And Tyler Loop, the latest example, the Baltimore kicker, missed that 44-yarder to lose the game for the Ravens against the Steelers. I'm not sure anybody deserved to win that football game, to be completely honest with you. And whoever won it is going to get curb stomped by the Texans this coming week. But he felt bad. Couldn't help but feel bad for Tyler Loop missing that kick in that spot. Not an easy kick, but felt bad for him. And the ugly was Chiefs Raiders, an abomination of a football game that I hope that I never have to think about after today. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we'll talk some NFL playoffs, look at the field, and we'll talk some college hoops on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Monday afternoon. Thanks so much for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, name of the channel, also on Facebook, WIBW News. Great to have you along. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you. We're with you until 6 o'clock tonight. Hand things off to the last Chiefs Kingdom of 2025. I guess the first of 2026 is the last of the 2025 season, but we'll have a Chiefs Kingdom show, then the Jeff Mittie show, tape delayed version of the Jeff Mittie show coming after that here tonight on the Sports Voice of Kansas. Still plenty to get to in these final 2 hours of the show. You have no doubt been following the sports news of the day, or at least doing your best. It's one of those days where a lot of stuff happens. It's the opening of the transfer portal, so there's obviously a lot happening there. We'll try and straighten that out for you in headlines, as well as all of the NFL coaching firings and happenings today. We have had 4 coaches get the axe on this Black Monday so far. Technically only 3. Raheem Morris, they didn't wait till today. They took care of him last night in Atlanta. They called him and said, don't bother coming in for your exit interview. We will mail you your things. So coaching changes in Atlanta, Cleveland, Las Vegas, and Arizona today. We'll get to all of that in headlines. We'll have some more thoughts on Chiefs Raiders, not extended thoughts because, I mean, come on, you saw the game. But we will get on record here on the program our official predictions. When will Travis Kelce make his decision, and what will his decision be? Because I'm waffling a little bit because I think Kelce knows, and I don't think there's any sense if he knows then to drag it out to March, which is what he's said he's going to do. But at the same time, I think we saw he can still play and still have a little bit of gravity as a pass catcher this season, and potentially that could be a reason to maybe not hang it up so fast going into 2026. It would be very strange if his final NFL pass that he caught was from Steve Buechele. Not Steve Buechele. Shane Buechele. I'm old enough to remember Steve Buechele. Are you old enough to remember? No. You're not old enough to remember. Steve Buechele was the third baseman for the Chicago Cubs. First time I saw the Cubs play at Mile High Stadium against the Rockies back in 1993. Steve Buechele.
Yeah, I was not born yet.
Yeah, he had a solid big league career as a third baseman, Rangers and Cubs. He's a good Ranger Cub immaculate grid guy for those of you.
I will say I think Travis Kelce, when he re-signed this last offseason, I think he made up his mind. And I think his mind might have changed.
Oh, interesting. You do think his mind might have changed?
I think, 1, how he played, and 2, the circumstances in which the season ended, I think that changes his mind.
So we'll get into that. We'll make our official predictions. We'll do that in the 5 o'clock hour. We got some college basketball to get to on the show today. K-State lost to BYU. I was there at Bramlage Coliseum, surrounded by a lot of BYU fans. I did not realize how strong the Midwestern Mormon Mafia was. But apparently lots of I was on my way to Bramlage on Saturday morning, and I passed in the left lane a vehicle. It was one of those 15-passenger vans, and it had a Missouri license plate, and the tag was BYU fan. And I didn't see how many people were in that van, but it may have been a lot of them. Maybe they filled that van to capacity. They had a bunch of BYU fans in that van because that was a sold-out Bramlage Coliseum, and it was a vociferous BYU contingent that saw their number 10 team in the country knock off K-State 83-73. K-State's 0-1 in conference play. KU is also 0-1 in conference play after they lost a tough one to UCF. They got to, I mean, you know, you just don't go to Addition Financial Arena and walk out of there with an easy dub. You don't walk into the ad, the AFA. I don't know what they call it, but all I know is KU's 1-2 in that building. And
all I know is just watching that game, it's definitely, from the TV aspect, it seems like a hard place to play.
It must be. It must be, because KU's 1-2 in that building. And the ongoing soap opera as the hamstring Titans once again playing a major role in KU's fortunes. We'll get into that a little bit later on. We got What Is Wrong With You coming up this hour as well, our first full week of What Is Wrong With You competition. In case you were just getting back to us, maybe you took some time off of the show for the holidays, you were running around, hustle and bustle, and you missed it. I do want to remind folks that our What Is Wrong With You champion of the year was Operation Bear Claw. That was our 2025 champion, Operation Bear Claw, the folks that ran the insurance fraud scam, somebody in a bear suit scratching up their luxury vehicles with meat claws. That was our winner. That was our 2025 What Is Wrong With You Tournament of Champions winner. And we're starting the search for our 2026 champ. Our first full week of competition begins a little bit later on this hour.
We had a one-day weekly champion on Friday.
Right. We had our first day. Now we have our first full week starting today. We want to hear from you on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the number. That's 785-272-9429. You can also hop in to the live chat if you're watching the show on YouTube today. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. If you're watching live from 3 to 6 Central Time, hop in that live chat. Say hello. Interact amongst yourselves, with your fellow listeners, and, of course, with your hosts as we go along on the program today. 580 Sports Talk, the name of that YouTube channel. The playoff field is set. And Chiefs fans, Commanders fan across the glass, I can commiserate. I can relate to you guys. My team's not playing next week either. That wasn't very nice. I apologize. That wasn't very nice.
I'm torn at the heart for my team's game yesterday.
They were playing the Eagles, right?
It's always like, look, I have two trains of thought here. It's always nice to beat a division opponent, although this division opponent wasn't playing its starters, but I don't know if you have ventured to the side of Eagles Twitter, but they were so high on their backup quarterback.
Tanner McKee, right?
Yes. And I don't know how high they are on their backup quarterback after yesterday. But it's always nice to get a win against an opponent, but you drop 2 spots in the draft order.
Yeah, well, the Chiefs moved up 2 spots in the draft, and there, we have some folks celebrating that in the YouTube chat. So,
did you see the Chiefs are in a weird spot with the draft?
What do you mean?
According to our guy Matt Derrick, the Chiefs are going to pick 9th in one round, 8th in the second round, and 10th in the third round, and then flip through all, and then go do that same distinction around again.
That's weird. I don't understand. I guess I don't understand
because they're tied with Cincinnati and.
Well, I know they have the same record as Cincinnati, and it was genuinely confusing, because the headlines were the Chiefs are going to pick 9th, and the mock drafts that were showing up when you click those links showed the Chiefs drafting 10th in the first round. So I know that the tiebreakers get kind of convoluted, but they are going to pick 9th in the first round. The teams that are moving on in the playoffs, in case you missed somehow the reveal of the playoff schedule, Saturday, first game, the game and the slot that has been known over the years as the Texans slot. We have finally found a team more odious than the Houston Texans. And part of that is because the Texans are kind of frisky this year. But we have finally found a team more odious than the Houston Texans to put in the Texans slot, the first game on Saturday on Wild Card Weekend. And it's the Carolina Panthers, who, again, won the NFC South because the proxy battle for the NFC South was won by the Falcons. The Falcons beat the Saints. That meant the Panthers won the division. If the Saints had won, that would have meant the Buccaneers won the division. Very funny stakes for an otherwise meaningless division rivalry game. Anyway, the Panthers are your division champions of the NFC South. They play the number 5 seed out of the NFC, the Los Angeles Rams. That's the first game Saturday. The night game Saturday, which you can only watch if you have Amazon Prime, is the Bears and the Packers. The Bears, number 2 seed. The Packers are the number 7 in the NFC. Order of operations for the triple header Sunday. All of those games will be broadcast right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. It'll be Jags-Bills from Jacksonville starting the day, the first of the 3 triple header games on Sunday. Jacksonville, the 3 seed, Buffalo, the 6. That's followed by the 3-6 game in the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, champions of the East, One of the great bits in the NFL, one of the great ongoing bits, now no longer ongoing, as we finally did have a repeat champion in the NFC East this year.
Yeah.
First time since 01-02?
I think so, yeah.
I think that something like that. But, the Eagles repeated in the NFC East. They will play the 6th seed San Francisco 49ers, or whatever is left of them with all of the injuries that they are dealing with. The night game on Sunday will be the 2 seed New England Patriots, the 7th seed Los Angeles Chargers in the AFC. The Monday night game is Steelers-Texans. Steelers are the champions of the AFC South by the margin of a missed Tyler Loop field goal. They are the 4 seed. They will play the 5 seed Houston on Monday night. Seattle and Denver are your number 1 seeds and your buys. Let's start there. You remember the last time, because every now and again you get a 1 seed that you don't trust. Like, that's not new.
Hold on. Before we get to this, do you trust your Seattle Seahawks now?
Well, this part of the discussion here.
Okay.
We're going to get there. But it's not uncommon that you would have a number 1 seed that you would maybe not trust. Like, you don't have to go back that far. 2021, the number 1 seed in the AFC was the Tennessee Titans. And they lost in round 1, you may recall, to the Cincinnati Bengals. Maybe that playoff looks very different. I think Kansas City would have walked a mud hole in Tennessee in the conference championship game that year. And then you're talking about a lot of Super Bowls in a row for the Chiefs. But alas, that didn't happen. The Titans were the number 1 seed. They were obviously frauds. Nobody thought that they were actually going to win the AFC, and they didn't even win a playoff game. As it turned out, they lost their first home playoff game. So it's not uncommon for the number 1 seed, to be looked at as not the favorite. But it does strike me how little, and again, it is my unique perspective as somebody who roots for one of the number 1 seeds and knows a lot of fans of the other number 1 seed. It is really rare, I think, to be in a situation where the top seeds have as little trust from not just the viewing public, but their own fans as far as their ability to make a run. The Broncos won a disgusting 19-3 game against the Chargers yesterday. That was against the Trey Lance quarterback, Los Angeles Chargers. And the Broncos put it in second gear for the entirety of the afternoon. And I just don't think that they have much more than that gear on offense. I think that's just kind of who they are on offense. They had 240 total yards in that game. They are not a particularly great offensive team. They were 14th in total scoring. They were 10th in total yards. They're just not real explosive. Their running game took a big hit when they lost J.K. Dobbins for the season. Their defense is very good. Their defense has also had some pretty noticeable lapses since their bye week. They got shredded by Marcus Mariota and the Commanders. They gave up a bunch of yards to the Packers, even though they won that game. They gave up 34 points to the Jaguars. The Broncos don't feel particularly convincing as the 1 seed. Then on the other hand, you have the Seahawks, who I think everything about them is convincing as a 1 seed, except for the quarterback, except for what we have known to be true about Sam Darnold. If Sam Darnold, and take his entire season, his entire trajectory, put his numbers aside, and just say that that season was just completed by a guy named Sam Jones. That was Sam Jones at quarterback. I think we would trust the Seahawks more than we do. It is strictly down to a Sam Darnold thing. And look, watched him all year. I understand. I feel a great trepidation every time he drops back to try to throw the ball over the middle. I am never confident that when the ball goes over the middle of the field, that when the camera pans, it's going to be caught by a guy wearing the same uniform. 0% confidence in that being the case. But other than that, the Seahawks do all the stuff you want from a 1 seed. They run the ball, they're good up front, and defensively they're terrifying. They hit Brock Purdy and friends with lead pipes for 60 minutes on Saturday night. And that was a team that had put up 40 plus against the 2 seed in the NFC just the week before. So if you're asking me which of the 1 seeds is more trustworthy, it's definitely Seattle. But there is still lingering that possibility of the Sam Darnold stinker because we've seen it. We saw it last year in the playoffs. And that's the thing I think that hangs over their head where for Denver, it's just, yeah, they don't have the juice on offense. It's not even necessarily an anti-Bo Nix thing. It's just they don't have enough good offensive players. They're going to have to win every game 13-10 or 20-17. And that's just a really hard way to win, even though it's only three playoff games in a row. Hard thing to do. So with those teams out of the way, let me ask you this question, Spencer, because I think this is the question that's going to kind of define how these playoffs go. This still a quarterback league? Is this still a league where at the end of the day, the team that has the guy to make the plays under center is going to win the biggest games? Or did we see a legitimate shift this season back in the direction of something like a defense-first kind of game, even if it's just for 1 year? And even if it only feels like that because the upper crust of quarterbacks in this league, or the guys we considered as the upper crust of quarterbacks, 3 of those 4 guys are watching the playoffs from home. So which is it? Like, what do you think it is? Do you go
I think this could be a 1-year phenomena thing.
Okay.
But because I will say, Josh Allen is an incredible quarterback, but there's something this year that is just, there's just something going on with him this year that is just, he's not the quarterback that which we've seen the last 2 or 3 seasons prior to this. I don't know what it is, but
I don't necessarily think the Bills' problems are him. I think him and James Cook are the reason that the Bills are where they're at. Like,
yeah,
the only reason I trust the Bills to do anything in the playoffs or think they're capable of doing anything in the playoffs is because Josh Allen is their quarterback, and I've seen him do great things in big games. I've seen him do great things in the playoffs. Other than that, though, their defense stinks.
Yeah.
It stinks. And you want to talk about Denver not having playmakers. Outside of James Cook, who are the playmakers for Buffalo? They don't have any. So that's where I come down with Buffalo, because there's no denying of if you put together a list of which quarterback you trust the most, it's Josh Allen in the AFC, and it's by like some distance, right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like perspective this year, not his best season when it comes to just overall like what we've seen last year, but he's the guy in the playoffs.
Right. Like that.
Like if I'm looking at quarterbacks in the playoffs that are going to do something, it's going to be Josh Allen, but his year this year doesn't really prove that, but it's just because there's not a lot of guys in the playoffs. I will say, no matter what happens, I think Aaron Rodgers in these playoffs is going to be scary with DK Metcalf back.
See, I don't think that's going to matter because he's going to have 0.2 milliseconds to throw every time he drops back against Houston, and they're going to break that old man in half. Like, I don't think that's going to be a factor. And I think Houston's going to crush Pittsburgh.
I don't think so.
Really? You think Pittsburgh wins that game?
Yeah.
Really?
The offense is totally different without DK. And the things that he can do down the field.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if he's down the field if Will Anderson's in your grill in 2 seconds, is my thing. I just don't think they're going to have time to throw. I think Houston's pass rush in their secondary is too good to allow any of those.
I saw last week Aaron throw the ball in 0.2 seconds because he wanted to mess around and didn't want to give Myles Garrett the sack record.
Right.
Well, not all very accurate, but I still saw him throw the ball in 0.2 seconds. So
yes, and then that offense didn't do anything and they lost.
But they also didn't have DK Metcalf.
This is true. Maybe it looks a little better if he's throwing a goal line fade to him and not Marquez Valdez-Scantling in the waning stages.
But I think the Steelers have a historically good defense. And I watched last night, like, what the heck happened? So many missed assignments. And
I think that might be the easiest game for me to call on the AFC side in the first round. I think the Texans are going to beat the hell out of the Steelers. I just think they're so good up front. They're so good defensively. That Steelers offense is just toilet ball. It's Rodgers just trying to get the ball out because he's afraid to throw an interception because he doesn't want to hurt his numbers. And it's not a great offensive line. They can run the ball a little bit, and that might be what keeps them in the game if they can play keep away and Warren and Gainwell have good games. But I just don't think the Steelers are going to be able to do anything through the air against that Texans. But yeah, I mean, that's other than Josh Allen, that's the only playoff proven quarterback that we've got here. C.J. Stroud's got one playoff win. Trevor Lawrence has one playoff win. Justin Herbert, famously, still looking for his first. And this is Drake May's first postseason. And Bo Nix is 0-1 in the playoffs. So you don't have those proven guys where you get to a point in the playoffs where we got to get through that guy, which means we got to have a guy who can go toe-to-toe with that guy. That's been the equation in these NFL playoffs now for the last 7 years. And beyond that, really, if you want to go back to Brady's heyday, Peyton Manning's heyday, where if we don't have a guy who can go toe-to-toe with that quarterback, we're not going to win. And I think that this year you can feel like there are teams that are strong enough defensively or do enough other things well that they feel like we match up well enough that all we have to do is ask our quarterback not to get us beat. Like, I think Denver falls in that bucket. Like, we just have to ask Bo Nix not to get us beat. And that's their formula. I don't know how successful that's going to be, but that's their formula. Seattle's formula a little bit is we just can't let Sam Darnold get us beat. We can't let him turn the ball over 3 times and let him get us beat.
I think the hardest game to pick this league, if you're just picking,
okay,
I think it's Packers Bears. What version are we getting
of
either team?
Fair.
Like, what kind of game is this going to be? Because right now, Vegas has got this 1.5 point favorite for the Bears. I mean, I know we don't, the Packers don't have the best pass rusher, one of the best pass rushers in the league, but still, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's just really good. It is like, I think being 1.5 point, I think it's literally a toss up. Like,
so you think that's the hardest one to project?
Yeah.
What would you say is your lock right now, just as far as just straight up? What do you feel what result do you feel the best about of the 6 round?
I think the Eagles are going to plummet the 49ers.
Yeah,
just because the defense is
so beat up.
Yeah, and we saw what happened last time these two teams met in the playoffs, and Brock Purdy is got something going on. He got hurt.
He did. He hit his thumb on a helmet on the last drive of the game.
Yeah,
so he was bleeding. Yeah, that didn't look good.
And
the only thing that concerns me, the 49ers defense is terrible, but the Eagles offense is also terrible. So that can end up being kind of gross. But yeah, I'm leaning pretty heavily to the Eagles in that one.
I think the result is going to be the Eagles win. I don't know how, but that's my lock. 100% on a Monday. That's my lock.
The one you feel best about.
Yeah.
I would say, because I gave you the one I feel the best about. The one I am the most up in the air on is probably Jags Bills. And it goes back to, like, if the Bills quarterback were, like, if the Bills were quarterback this year by Sam Darnold, I would take the Jaguars without hesitation because I think they're better at, like, everything else. But Josh Allen right now feels like the guy. And it has to happen. I don't know that there's another team with more urgency in these playoffs. Because if not now, when? The boogeyman is at home with his knee in a brace. The guy you can't get by, you don't have to worry about. This is the year. This is when it has to happen for the Bills. Because they've got an old roster that's been a detriment to them, frankly, this year at times. This is the year it has to happen. There's no excuse, except for the fact that they got to play all their games on the road. But they have the best quarterback in the field by some distance. This has to be the year it happens. So I think they have that level of urgency. And the Jaguars' playoff history is such that you really trust the Jaguars in a playoff spot. But if you're thinking about the intangibles, you get to the tangibles, the Jaguars should be. Just in terms of the tangible stuff, the Jaguars should be. So it's that tug of war there that makes that the hardest game to pick for me. Where are you leaning right now today? Real quick. We got to get to a timeout. We got what is wrong. Where are you leaning right now today, your Super Bowl matchup?
I think just because the competition isn't not that there's not competition, but what you just mentioned. Who's at home recovering from an injury? The Chiefs. I think the Bills make.
I think the Bills make the run.
It's the urgency thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the and it's the fact, and I think they do. Here's a bold prediction. I think they host the AFC Championship game.
Really? You think that would be they would play the Chargers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about. I understand why. Like again,
I think the Patriots have had a good season, right? But I think it's their first go
they
around.
Played the Colonial Athletic Association.
Yes, it's their first go around. Drake May's had a great year. Nothing taken away from him, but like it's the first go around.
It beat Hofstra Merrimack all season. Like
so Super Bowl on the NFC side, I think that's just the hardest to predict, right? Like, because the team I thought was going to be there kind of bobbled down the stretch. I thought the Rams, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I thought at the beginning of December, I thought they would be in the Super Bowl. And I don't.
Yeah, like
I'm still tossed up right now.
I have thought for a long time they were the best team. If it's still the quarterback league, if that's what still matters the most, and that is what has historically all our lives has mattered the most. Who's got the guy at quarterback? We're gonna get a Bills-Rams Super Bowl. That is what I believe. But if it is the kind of year that this bracket and the way it is shaken out suggests it is, then we could see some weirdness. We could see Seahawks Texans. Like that wouldn't surprise me. We could see Broncos Eagles. That wouldn't surprise. It would surprise me. I really don't think they're very good. I think they're losing their first playoff game. I think it's gonna be the Bills to get them.
I'm right there with you.
Andrew points out the Buffalo's 0-8 in the road in the playoffs since 1992. I don't care what Jim Kelly did on the road in the playoffs. What does that got to do with Josh Allen? Like I like that. That's like when you put up what the record was. The Chiefs hadn't won any playoff games, and then Patrick Mahomes showed up.
Yeah,
like different deal, different animal, and different circumstances. Like I'm not Rob Johnson losing playoff games on the Music City Miracle. Like okay. What's that got to do with Josh Allen? Like I think they have the best quarterback, and I am conditioned for the last 20, 25 years of watching the National Football League that matters more than anything else. But maybe this year is the year that it does.
I think this is going to be the craziest playoff year we've ever seen.
It could be, and
because we don't have the perennial teams,
right?
The Ravens, you don't have the Ravens, you don't have the Chiefs.
It could be a wild one. We'll take a timeout. We got What Is Wrong With You next. That's always wild on 580 Sports Talk. It's time for What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. It's our first full competition week of 2026 as we forge towards crowning a yearly champion in December. 2 news stories today. I'll go first. We're going to Florida, where a postal worker is facing criminal charges for trying to do something about a porch pirate. Saw a porch pirate in action and said, not on my watch. I'm going to take care of this. 3 problems. Number one, the porch pirate was a 10-year-old kid. Number two, the porch pirate wasn't actually a porch pirate. He was trying to take an erroneously delivered package over to the neighbor's house where it was supposed to be delivered. And number three, the postal worker tried to run the kid over with his truck. That's William White, 41 years old, in Escambia County, Florida. He is accused of trying to hit a 10-year-old on December 27th while he was riding his scooter with the package near his home. According to the police report, White dropped a package off at the wrong address. This happens. We've gotten packages for, the right house number, but the wrong, you live on a street and it gets delivered to place, or you live on whatever place and it gets delivered to the same street number, but it's whatever terrace or whatever it might be. It happens. It happens. It used to happen.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I lived on Bellevue Place, and right behind us was Bellevue, Bellevue Drive. And we get Bellevue Drive mail sometimes because it's the same house number.
My complex has a place and a terrace.
Yes.
And it's the same name.
Yeah. So these things can happen, right? So White dropped package off at the wrong address. The child, whose family owns that residence, saw that the package was meant for a different address. So he grabbed the package, placed it on his electric scooter to take it to the correct address. White allegedly saw the boy with the package, thought he was attempting to steal it, purposely drove his USPS vehicle toward the child, and ran over the scooter, narrowly missing the boy and causing him to injure his ankle while he tried to get out of the way. The child was able to get into the nearby yard prior to the scooter being hit. White then grabbed the scooter from underneath his vehicle, placed it on his truck, and then started to drive away while the boy's parents came outside to confront him. He allegedly also yelled something at the boy before leaving. White was questioned about the incident several days later. He's been arrested and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, petty theft, and criminal mischief. He's been released on $5,500 bond. I understand, you don't want to see somebody steal a package you just delivered. But maybe,
wait
instead,
and watch this unfold.
Yeah, instead of deciding, shout, hey, you steal that package? If the kid then tries to run off, then okay, yeah, maybe you're dealing with something. Just talk to people. Just talk. Hey, what are you doing with that? Instead of, oh, I'm going to run this kid over with my car. That'll teach you. A moron. And yes, the obvious joke from Jeffrey in the YouTube comments. Guy went postal. Yeah, he did. All right. What's your story today, Spencer?
Yeah, we're going from one place in Florida to another. We're going to Homestead. A man is in custody, after Homestead police say he went on the attack last Monday, damaging property in the nude. Carlos Guerrero, 38, was arrested last Monday at a home on Northwest 8th Avenue and 5th Street after police say he was armed with a hammer, mallet, and machete, smashing items inside the home where he rented a room. The victims told police in addition to damaging the room, he threw a bag of cement on top of a white Ford Mustang that belonged to one of the residents. According to detectives, he caused an estimated about $9,000 in damage to the car, both inside and outside air conditioning units, as well as other property damage. According to the arrest report, when they arrived at the home, they found 38-year-old Carlos Guerrero on the outside of the home, naked, actively destroying things with a hammer. When he went to get in bond court on Tuesday, he was familiar with the judge because the circuit judge remembered her from juvenile court.
Oh, okay.
To which she responded, that was a long time ago. So, yes, he was armed with a hammer, mallet, machete, destroying items, said Glazer during the bond hearing. One of the victims told police that had threatened to harm him before calling 911. He's got to stay at least 500 feet away from the victims, their home, school, and employment at all times, and stay away from the residence. He's currently on probation for burglary charge and will have to appear before another judge for that case.
Yeah, not wired right, I would say. Yeah. This gentleman to have done that. That's I don't know what precipitated it. Sometimes it's better not to know what precipitated such an action. All right, who do we got today? It's hard to beat a naked hammer and machete rampage. but the postal worker tried to run over a child, a literal child.
Yeah, like dude,
a
it ain't that hard to say, like, whoa, what are you doing with that package? I just delivered it.
You know, it's one thing if it's like, oh, man, he's 17, and you thought, like, oh, for real, that was like a porch pirate. They were moving suspicious. They were going real fast on their scooter. That was a 10-year-old, man. Unbelievable. That's our winner on Monday on What Is Wrong With You, the postal worker.
Yeah.
We're going to come back. We're going to break away from football for just a moment, talk a little college hoops. Not a great start. Big 12 play for KU or K-State. We'll get to it next on 580 Sports Talk. Real quick football thought to double back to here. Because Andrew in the YouTube comments pointed out, Bills are 0-8 on the road in the playoffs since 1992. And, like, obviously, historically, that's eyebrow-raising. But I'm not going to hold Tyrod Taylor losing 10-3 to Blake Bortles in 2017 against what this particular Bills team could do this year.
I forgot Tyrod Taylor and Blake Bortles.
Tyrod Taylor and Blake.
Matchup.
That was... You're never going to believe this. The first game of the day on Saturday.
I think I remember that now. It had to jog my memory there for a second.
Disgusting. Mr. KU Jayhawk in the YouTube comments points out that Josh Allen is 0-4. He's got 4 of those 8 playoff losses. And that is true. One of those is his first career playoff game, an overtime loss at Houston. And the other 3 of those road losses are to Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes. And I think it kind of matters that Josh Allen's particular boogeyman is not in these playoffs. That's why I could pick Buffalo with a little bit more confidence on the road. I don't think, like, I do. I think Jacksonville can win. Don't get me wrong. It would not shock me in the least if they beat Buffalo. But I don't think that Josh Allen's prior road playoff failures are going to be the reason why, because Josh Allen's playoff famously, he did not fail in the 13 seconds game. He was unbelievable in that game. And he lost that game because he didn't get a chance to touch the ball in overtime, because that's the way the rules were at the time. He was also really good in last year's AFC Championship game. Like, really, really good. And still lost. So I don't hold that. Like, you get too far down the road with quarterback wins and losses, and then you start seeing stuff like there have only been 5 quarterbacks in NFL history to win 13 or more games in back-to-back seasons as a starter, and now Sam Darnold is one of those 5. And it's like, well, okay, how much credit are we giving him for those wins? Are those wins about him, or are those wins about, the talent he's surrounded by? We get pretty selective on that.
Josh Allen, 22, 34, 237, 2 touchdowns, was sacked twice last year. 11 carries, 39 yards. Against the Chiefs in that game.
Yeah, I thought he played pretty well. I didn't think he was the reason they lost.
No.
Now, he might have been the reason they lost. Like, that loss at Houston, that playoff game at Houston. By the way, you'll never believe this. That was the first game of the day on Saturday on Wild Card Weekend in 2020. And that was Josh Allen, like, young Josh Allen losing his mind. Remember when he caught his own pass in that game?
Yeah.
Remember when he flung the ball down the field to a fullback, like threw a deep ball to a fullback, like a jump ball to his fullback at the end of the fourth quarter of that game? Yeah, he was a very different player then. But no, I think it matters for Allen's sake. I think that he's been a solid playoff performer, even a very good one at his very best, and not having to go through the boogeyman, I think matters quite a bit. Anyway, let's talk some college hoops. We promised we would get there. Big 12 basketball season opened on Saturday, and it did not open well for either K-State or KU. We'll start with K-State because I was there. You can catch my instant reaction if you missed it, my instant thoughts on K-State's 83-73 loss to BYU from Saturday afternoon at Bramlage Coliseum. You can check that out on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk.
I was watching AJ Dibansa in person.
I would pick him number one in the NBA draft and not think real hard about it, with all due respect to Cam Boozer, who I think is, at this point, the only other real option at number one because Darryn Peterson doesn't play enough basketball at this stage. Right now, it's down to Boozer and Dibansa. I'd take Dibansa. K-State made it hard for him. He turned the ball over 7 times. Every time he tried to drive, he was driving into traffic. K-State, I thought, did a pretty good job, or as good a job as you can do on a guy who's that talented. He just has a lot of different ways to score, and when you are covering him close one-on-one, he can just get up over you and get his shot because he's 6'9", and he's bouncy, and he's quick, and he can finish. He's got some range. He's really good. I didn't think he played his best game. 24-8 anyway. Like he's that kind of skill. He's averaging like 25 a game over his last 7. Just his scoring numbers in college at this stage in his freshman season compare very favorably. And CJ Moore laid this out in his athletic column today. Compare very favorably to what Kevin Durant was doing as a freshman. Like that's the kind of scoring talent you're seeing with Dibansa. Obviously, K-State doesn't have that guy.
Yeah.
And K-State,
they got a guy who can score, though.
They do. PJ Haggerty played really, really well. And David Castillo played well.
I love David Castillo. I love the consistency we've seen from him off the bench this year.
He's not scared. And he seems to have embraced being that spark plug sixth man that every team needs. You need somebody to give you some bench scoring, and Castillo's really embraced that role. I thought that was positive for K-State. I also thought the way they defended. They forced 19 BYU turnovers. And in a version of the game where they don't go 3 for 21 from 3, maybe they pull off the upset. Like that's how they have to play on defense. They have to be active. They have to move. The problem is, and I've laid this out during the non-conference, but it was really obvious against a particularly big team like BYU, where if you play small against BYU, they're gonna pound you. They got too much size. You can't go 4 guards against BYU. You just can't, because BYU's guards are huge. Dibansa's 6'9". They can play that Boscovich kid who's 6'10". They're going to play Kebakeda in the post, and he's gonna pummel you. You can't play small against BYU. But when K-State has to play big, they have the ability to be a decent defensive team playing big because Moby's athletic and Taj plays hard and Doreen Buka's 7'2". But then if they're playing 2 of those guys together, or if they're playing any 2 of those 3 guys plus Kamari McGriff, that's a bad offensive lineup. And you're just going to get stuck in the mud. And you're going to have to make your threes because there's just not going to be space to get easy baskets. You have to make your threes if you're going to play big. And K-State didn't make their threes. And that's why they lost that game. But I was not discouraged. I did not leave that feeling like, oh, man, K-State's got no chance against the best of the Big 12 this season. And I've watched games where I felt discouraged by K-State this year. But that was not one of them. That was one to grow on. They'll need to bring that kind of defensive effort against the number 1 team in the country on Wednesday in Tucson. KU lost at UCF. They lost by 6. It was tied late. UCF hit a big 3. KU got it down to 1, but then committed a foul on a 3-point play by Riley Kugel that really helped UCF salt it away.
I feel like KU was chasing this whole game.
Well, yeah, they were. Because nobody played well, except for the one guy who, after 11 minutes were left in the second half, didn't play at all. That was the problem.
I will say Melvin Council did pick up the slack a little bit.
He did. He had a couple of good minutes.
He had no points in the first half and finished with 20.
Yeah, had picked up the scoring slack, to be sure. But this was just a game where nobody played well except Darryn Peterson. And then when Peterson was not playing, you saw the problem. But yeah, that you make a good point. The word chasing. It is hard to win a game where you are finding yourself playing from behind for the better part of it. It's just really, really hard to play catch up, especially on the road. And KU found themselves in that position for pretty much the entire second half, and then didn't have Darryn Peterson for that stretch. And
which was the whole thing as it played out on live TV was very weird because Darryn looked like he wanted to play, and then he was sitting by himself, and it was just very odd.
Yeah, it's so hard to know what to make of it. I have to imagine everybody involved is some degree of frustrated about some part of it. Bill Self, Darryn Peterson, Peterson's teammates, I'm sure, are feeling a little bit of, and not like I'm saying mad at Darryn Peterson, but just frustrated with and we just don't know when we're going to have this guy. We need this guy, and we just don't know when he's going to be out there. And I was talking to Brendan off air. Brendan Dorzinski, he's off today. You'll hear from him tomorrow. I was talking to Brendan off air about this, and Brendan said, KU without Darryn Peterson is like a Thanksgiving meal without the turkey. Like, you can have the stuffing's good, the potatoes are good, you got some good role players, even if none of them really played well in that game. But you don't have the bird, you don't really have Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, you're getting up there, and then you just straight line.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk after this. A quick aside here about college basketball to wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. You following the James Najee thing with Baylor?
Yeah, just a little bit.
He was a first-round pick in the NBA draft and never appeared in an NBA game, but maintained college eligibility, and now he's playing for Baylor. Crazy. And, he signed with Baylor. He's playing for Baylor. He got in the game against TCU at TCU. TCU fans booed him every time he touched the ball.
Rightfully so.
So
guy's out of college. Guy got whatever.
I can't explain, and I was trying to think my way through this. It bothers me more. Like I'm watching K-State BYU. BYU's backup center played 2 years in the G League for the Westchester Knicks. And that to me bothers me. The G League guys that decide they want to play college ball, that bothers me more than the guys who played professionally in Europe coming here and playing college ball. And I think it's because of that proximity to the league. Like, you've got a lot of different paths to the NBA. If you want to play in the NBA, if that is your ultimate goal, You got a lot of different ways you can do that if you are an American basketball prospect.
Yeah.
You don't have as many paths to that organically if you are a European basketball prospect. And one of the tried and true paths to that is college basketball. So I am more okay with the Elias Rapieks and the Andre Kostiches of the world who, I want to play in the NBA. This is my goal to play in the NBA, and this gives me an opportunity to pursue that. This is the most direct line to that. As opposed to a guy like James Nagy, who's like, I was good enough to be drafted into the league. I specifically chose a path that did not include college basketball. And now that it's not happening for me in the NBA, now I think I might want to try this college basketball.
And look, if you're the thing that I have the problem with is you have quote unquote gone pro in America to get to the NBA. Right. You're a professional basketball player, whether you are in the NBA or not. The G League is a professional basketball league. Yeah, you're only probably making $50,000 a year. The thing is, they see this money and this NIL, and they're like, I can make more than I'm making in the G League, so I'm coming back.
I don't even think it's financial. It might be financially motivated for some of them. I don't think you're entirely off base with that, but I don't think it's primarily financially motivated. I think it's just I'm trying to get to the league. And I agree with Ryan in the YouTube comments. It's not James Nagy's fault that the rule exists that he can play. It's not his fault. I'm not blaming the kid here. I'm just saying it bothers me more to watch guys who've gone the G League path than it does watching guys who this is the path now for them to the NBA, the European guys. It bothers me less. Maybe that doesn't make sense to you, but I'm still kind of unpacking it a little bit. We got a lot of headlines and more Chiefs coming up. Final hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Monday. We're back to the grind. It's our first full work week. It's the first real business day of 2026. Glad you're spending it hanging out with us here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, where you will see how badly in need of a shave I am. My goodness. And on, well, I would say on Facebook, we'll be having a little trouble with the Facebook stream today. So if you want to watch us on video today, it looks like YouTube's your only call. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Go subscribe to the channel. We're up to 889 subscribers. We've added 2 today. So we are 11 away from 580 Sports Talk Idol. Let's get one more today. Let's get to a nice round number, 890. Who's going to be number 890 out there today? Go slam that subscribe button over on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk.
So this is really happening soon.
Yeah, this is going to happen, which means we have to figure out how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Jeffrey in the YouTube comments is asking, so how are you guys going to do it? I'm like, looks like we got 11 subscribers worth of time to figure it out.
When we get there.
All I know is it will, in some form or fashion, involve me singing my least favorite song in the world, My Maria by Brooks and Dunn. Like, I am resigned to my fate. I've been resigned to my fate since I said this is what we're going to do when we hit our stretch goal. And so I know that's going to be part of it. But we'll get there when we get there. Ryan in the YouTube comments, very kind. Stan, you've really let yourself go. Look, man, I got an 18-month-old at home. Cut me some slack. All right. I mean, it's not wrong. Like this facial hair situation is becoming a bit problematic for me. I gotta trim it down in a bad way.
I tried something new in August. I don't know if you probably noticed. I grew the mustache. Right. Well, I hadn't been home since June.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes my parents tune in here and there, but they're not watching the show. They're just listening most times. So I get home for when I went home for Christmas, and my mom's like, something's different about you. I just can't figure it out. And then I was like, really? You don't know? And my dad's like, oh, you grew your mustache.
Yeah. Yeah, I've told the story of how I ended up stuck with this beard, and now I can't get rid of it. But and most times I like it, but there are days where it's like, man, like, when do I have time? Like, am I going to shave after my kid goes to bed? No. Bathroom's right across from his bedroom. Might wake him up. Am I going to shave in the morning? No. Don't have time.
You're gonna
genuinely don't have time.
You're gonna go to work looking like one thing and come back after lunch looking like the other. That's the only time you have.
That is exactly correct. I will probably shave at my lunch break tomorrow.
Before the game that you got.
I got high school basketball tomorrow night. We got 580 Preps Tuesday night hoops. First time at Care Paravel this season. We're excited about that. Care Paravel and Wabaunsee. Our Tuesday night hoops doubleheader tomorrow night. Couple of top 10 teams in Class 1A Division I out of Wabaunsee taking on Care Paravel in Flint Hills League play. Excited to be on the call for that one tomorrow night. And I will look much more professional by the time I roll up on Care Paravel tomorrow night. That is my promise. But no, appreciate everybody in the YouTube comments, sarcasm or otherwise. Appreciate you guys in the YouTube comments. 580 Sports Talk, name of the channel. Hop in those comments, interact with us live, interact with each other in the chat over there, and grow the 580 Sports Talk community. You can also text the show. The text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the number. That is 785-272-9429. We're going to get back into the Chiefs a little bit as we wind down this show today. We'll make our official guesses, our official on the record guesses. What is Travis Kelce going to decide, and when is he going to decide it? We'll make our guesses. We'll see who gets closest to the pin, who's most correct based on what the Chiefs tight end decides he is going to do vis-a-vis the continuation or not of his playing career, and when it ends up that he will make that decision. So that's coming up. We'll get a little more into the game. Like, you watch the whole game, Spencer?
I will be honest with you.
That's okay.
I I haven't watched very much of my team this year,
Uh-huh.
and I watched. I want to see what the young guys could do. I want to see what the running, like what Bill Krosky-Merritt could do, and what the young secondary could do. So I had the Chiefs on the second screen muted the entire time, which from what I saw on the Everything app X, the Chiefs got like the 2 worst play-by-play and color broadcasters ever known to man.
We're gonna talk about the Chris Lewis, Kyle Long booth. I actually have met Chris Lewis. I know Chris Lewis. I say I know him is probably an exaggeration, but I have met him. I've had an extended conversation with Chris Lewis. I like Chris Lewis. I think Chris Lewis is a solid play-by-play guy. I think what that was yesterday was not to the standard of an NFL game, even one with the standards of the Raiders and the Chiefs in a meaningless Week 18. So, yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get into that. A lot of headlines as well. Again, you can interact with us in the YouTube comments, 580 Sports Talk, name of the channel. Also on the text line, 785-272-9429. Got some texts earlier on the show, some of the issues with the Chiefs that we can get into. Also, a question from the 785. Do you fade your beard, Dan? I do not. I tighten it up a little bit, but I do not fade it. It's pretty wiry. It just is what it is. It grows how it grows. It just is what it is. Anyway, let's get to headlines. We got a whole lot of headlines to get to from the weekend that was. We'll get to some coach firings. We'll get to the latest from the transfer portal. My gracious, we could probably just do transfer portal until the end of the show.
Yeah, the amount of it was like, I'll tell you what, this portal opening up on a Friday, going crazy because people didn't even go visit their schools and they committed.
Yeah. Or showed up on campus and immediately committed. There's a lot of that going on.
Got a billboard in Times Square to say he was committing.
I didn't see that. Who was that?
Darryn Morton.
Oh.
Some Texas Tech person got a billboard in Times Square that Darryn Morton committed to Texas Tech.
Darryn Morton already at Texas Tech.
Who am I thinking of?
Brendan Thorsby, probably?
Yeah, sorry. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll get into all of that. But let's start with a story that might have slipped under your radar this weekend. The Kansas City Royals give their manager a contract extension. Matt Quatraro, a 3-year contract extension through 2029, including a team option for 2030. That probably slipped under your radar a little bit. I confess I barely was able to process that news when it did come across the timeline this weekend. But the Royals agreeing to a 3-year contract extension with their manager. I have said that I haven't yet decided, and he's only 3 years into his managerial career. And I think like being a head coach, it's kind of thing you can get better at. I also think the importance of the manager is kind of depends situation to situation, organization to organization. I'm not sure that Quatraro is a manager that adds anything. Like, you're not better because he's your manager in a way that I think like a guy like Terry Francona, you're better if he's your manager. Pat Murphy is a guy that you're better if he is your manager. The manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, I think, is an additive manager. Alex Cora, AJ Hinch. There's a reason those guys got jobs after the cheating scandals. They're additive managers. I don't know that Matt Quatraro is that. I also don't think he takes anything off the table either. Yeah. Which means I think he's probably about an average manager. And I think that most managers, it's a very small pool of guys who are adding. And to the extent that guys add wins, you're not acting like, nobody's taking a team that would be a 81 win team and taking that to 100 wins. Like that's not the kind of additive we're talking about here. But I think that Matt Quatraro as a manager is fine. And I think that I have some quibbles, but I also think that there are some things he does well in the job. So 3-year contract extension for Q. He's with the Royals through 2029, team option for 2030. All right. We'll knock out all the quick hitter stuff. Let's do the AP poll, get to the quick hitter stuff, and then we'll just run down the transfer portal.
Yeah, let's go to the AP top 25, newest releasing, I believe it was today. Arizona stays at number 1. Michigan, I guess the top, 6 stay where they were. Arizona, Michigan, Iowa State, UConn, Purdue, and Duke round out the top 6. Houston jumps up a spot to 7. Gonzaga falls a spot to 8. BYU jumps up 1 to 9. Nebraska jumped up 3 to 10.
Yeah, they're good, man.
Yeah.
Go figure. They're good.
Texas Tech jumped up a spot to 14 in the Big 12. Let's see. KU fell 5 spots after the loss to UCF to 22, and UCF jumps in with they were the first team out receiving votes at 26. If it went out there, they jumped up 1 spot to the top 25. So UCF beats KU and gets in the top 25.
And Ken Palm's got him at number 43. So probably a little overrated by the voters, but it is a nod to, hey, they're a lot better than anybody thought. They're 24th in Ken Palm offensive ranking as a team, number 24 in the country.
That makes sense.
A really nice surprise for UCF that they are 12-1 on the year and just scored a second win in 3 years at home over Kansas. KU remaining in the poll. They're 21st in the coaches poll for whatever that's worth. But 22nd.
They, along with people, North Carolina, the biggest fallers, both falling 5 spots.
Now, Florida and USC drop out of the poll this week. Villanova is your first team out. Looking at other Big 12 teams receiving votes, looks like the only other Big 12 team receiving votes is TCU, who beat Baylor on Saturday and who Kansas plays tomorrow night. All right, transfer portal. Oh, boy. Man, this just moves so fast. And while we've been doing the show today, there have been more commitments announced for both Kansas and Kansas State. So we will try. Oh, my gosh, there's just been another one. There's just, within the last 3 minutes, there's been another addition for Kansas State. So we will try to be as thorough as we possibly can when it comes to portal additions for both Kansas and Kansas State. If we miss one, it wasn't for lack of trying. Anyhow. K-State, this is what they've added today in the transfer portal. The bold-faced headline names are running back Rodney Fields out of Oklahoma State, who was one of their primary ball carriers this last year and has been a really good player. It's funny. You go try to find if you Google Rodney Fields right now, the first result is his page at Oklahoma State University Athletics. You go click on that page. Guess what you find? 404
doesn't exist.
Gone. Completely erased. Anyway, Rodney Fields averaged 5 yards a carry last year for the Cowboys, 614 yards on 124 carries. Also had 276 receiving yards, scored a pair of touchdowns. Not a big back, 5'9", 195, maybe a bit of a compliment to Joe Jackson, but definitely a solid addition at running back for Kansas State. The other headline addition, wide receiver Isaiah Williams out of Texas A&M, whose dad played at Kansas State. Obviously, there's the Colin Klein connection with Isaiah Williams at Texas A&M. He caught 7 passes for 64 yards and a score in 7 games for the Aggies as a true freshman. Also joining the fold in Manhattan, cornerback Keyshawn Davila, who was the number 1 JUCO corner in the country when he signed with Arkansas last year. Played in 12 games with the Razorbacks and will go to Kansas for his final year, Kansas State for his final year of eligibility. Also in the defensive backfield, Caleb Patterson out of Illinois, who's played the last 2 seasons with the Fighting Illini, 47 total tackles in those 2 seasons. Safety Coy Beasley from Miami, Ohio, initially committed to Purdue, transferred after his redshirt year, played regularly as a redshirt freshman at Miami of Ohio. And within the last 5 minutes, linebacker Jacoby Oliphant out of Oklahoma State, also committing to Kansas State. He's a St. Louis native and made a pair of starts this last year, had 24 tackles and 2 sacks. So K-State focusing on adding to their defensive backfield primarily here on day 1 of the open portal. Oh, forgot this one. Offensive lineman Keaton Jones, who transfers from Missouri. He is a Kansas product. Coffeyville Field Kindley High School. K-State recruited him out of high school. He picked Mizzou, got in some action, but took a redshirt year and will have all of his eligibility left at K-State. For KU today, obviously they focused on linebacker with their entire linebacker room hitting the transfer portal. Linebackers Landon Watson from Kentucky, Quincy Davis from New Mexico State, and Jerron Willis from South Carolina have pledged to Lance Leipold's Jayhawk program today. Watson appeared in 34 games the last 3 years for Kentucky. Willis was a rotational player at South Carolina. Quincy Davis had a really good season at New Mexico State. If you like the grades from Pro Football Focus, one of the highest graded linebackers in the country this last year and has 2 years of eligibility left. Also committing to KU out of the portal today, offensive lineman Connor Stroh, who started 5 games at left guard for Texas this last season. Safety Jaden Harris out of Georgia. He was a big deal get for Georgia out of the portal last year from Miami, but only played 8 games this last year.
That just coming down in the last 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's a fairly new one. Defensive tackle Eamon Smalls from UAB had 50 tackles as a defensive tackle this last season. That means you're around the ball a lot. He's got 2 years of eligibility. Running back Jalen Dupree from Colorado State. He had 508 rushing yards on just 102 carries this last season. He's got 3 years of eligibility left. So KU obviously focusing on linebacker, but also focusing on players with 2+ years of eligibility to bring into the fold. That's all that's been officially reported today. There are a lot of rumors that Rodney Fields' brother, who is a defensive back from Oklahoma State, is a package deal with Rodney Fields. So keep an eye out for that potential commitment to Kansas State's overhauled secondary, but that is not as yet official. So that is what we know about the additions for Kansas and Kansas State. As far as players who have left those schools and have made their commitments, KU linebacker Logan Brantley committed to Boise State. John Camara, the linebacker, he is going to Wisconsin. K-State, Austin Romaine is going to Texas Tech.
Crazy.
Yeah, Texas Tech, there is still money in the banana stand. That was not a one-shot, 1 year, let's throw all the money we've got at 1 year worth of roster. Nope. They're spending big again. They got Brendan Sorsby, number 1 rated quarterback out of the portal, and Austin Romaine, who's got to be, if he's not the best linebacker in the portal, he's on the very short list. He will stay in the Big 12, and he will play at Texas Tech. A pair of defensive linemen from K-State look set to head to Indiana. Tobias Insomni, the Wichita East product, is already committed there. It sounds like Chidi Obiizor might be following Osunsomni to Bloomington, Indiana. And safety Quay Moss is committed to Tennessee. I've probably missed some there. My apologies. That's the best I got for you for now. Anyway, that's the latest from the that's most of the latest from the transfer portal. I got some other details.
Well, I was just going to give you a local of local interest here. Trey Richardson, who went to Highland Park.
Yes.
And then was at a couple places and then found himself at Washburn before portaling up to D1 last year, where he played at Vanderbilt and had a pretty darn good season. He is leaving Vanderbilt. And the latest that I've seen is that he will go on a visit to Georgia tomorrow, according to Max Olson, covering college football for ESPN.
Okay. I've heard that there has been some interest from the in-state schools. They've at least reached out. I don't know if that means that there'll be a visit there, but Trey Richardson showed he's an SEC caliber player this last year. He more than held his own. He produced at a high level for Vanderbilt and helped them to a 10-win season in the SEC. So all the best to Trey as he looks for his next home. Also, a bunch of quarterbacks. That's what you're always watching in the portal is where the quarterbacks are going to go. Follow me on the musical chairs here. Josh Hoover, former TCU quarterback, he's going to follow Fernando Mendoza's footsteps. He's going to go to Indiana. TCU has replaced Hoover with Jaden Craig, the quarterback from Harvard. If I go from Harvard to TCU, I mean,
what a change, man.
It's not like going
academically. It's a change.
Not as much as going from like Harvard to like Arizona State. It's not like
going from Army to West Virginia.
Going from Army to Arizona State like Kanye Udo did last year. But yeah, Harvard's Jaden Craig, record-setting quarterback. He's going to TCU. Oklahoma State, as expected, they're getting all of North Texas's best players. That includes their quarterback, Drew Mestemaker, who put up some monster numbers this year. I already mentioned Brendan Sorsby, staying in the Big 12, going to Texas Tech. Rocco Becht, as expected, he will follow Matt Campbell from Iowa State to Penn State.
Along with a slew of other players.
Yeah, the big tight end whose name is I'm blanking on. Virginia Tech, James Franklin reuniting with one of his top recruits at Penn State. Ethan Grunkemeyer will transfer from Penn State to Virginia Tech and follow James Franklin. I'm sure there are others. Again,
Yeah.
it's just we cannot do it comprehensively. Let's wrap up with the Black Friday firing. Or the Black Monday hirings. Yeah.
Well, Raheem Morris is out of Atlanta, and he couldn't even get to Black Monday.
No, they fired him last night.
Which is crazy because after his post-game press conference, he shook hands with the ownership, and it looked like everything was good. If you watched the end of the press conference, media showing the camera, to just a mere hours later, he is gone. Speaking of people being gone, Kevin Stefanski goes in this morning to his meeting, and it is an exit meeting. He is fired. Raiders 1-year experiment with Pete Carroll ends in a firing. Interesting. He didn't just step down and retire there with him being in his 70s. Jonathan Gannon later took a little bit longer today, canned from Arizona. So they're going to go full reset quarterback and head coach. And the Titans have requested to interview multiple candidates, including Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, who is technically not with the contract with the Chiefs after the season ends, and then defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo.
I guess you probably don't have to ask for permission to interview Nagy. You don't have to ask the Chiefs if he's not
it was
under
reported that they did request, so I don't know if that was more of a Borgonzi being just calling
and doing his old employer a solid.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm going to interview your guy, just so you know.
And it also sounds better than this guy's out of contract, so we can talk to him whenever. So Atlanta, Cleveland, Las Vegas, Arizona, the Giants and the Titans are open jobs.
I think we could get one more by the end of the week.
We could. I wouldn't be surprised if there was one more. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more than one more. There's always one you don't see coming. And honestly, I think there could be a coaching change if there are I don't think Sean McDermott survives a first-round playoff loss. I won't be oblique about it. I do not think Sean McDermott survives a first-round playoff loss.
I was referring to John Harbaugh.
Well, no, I know that I assume that's who you were referring to, and I would not be surprised at that one either. But anyway, of the 6 jobs that we know are open, if you are hotshot coaching candidate Spencer Dupuis with all the answers on both offense and defense, you are this cycle's Ben Johnson, and you basically get to pick where you go. What's the most desirable job?
I think there's at least one here, maybe 2. I think look, the Browns, for as bad as they are, their defense was amazing this year. They're top 5 in every category. Get me Nasty Man off the books.
Sounds like he's not going to be off the books. Sounds like he's going to be back on the team next year.
All right, then I'm out. I'm walking in there.
No,
if he's part of your plan, sorry, I don't want to go forward with this interview.
That is a toxic waste dump of an organization. Yes. I wouldn't want that job. I wouldn't come near 100 miles from Cleveland if I were a head coaching candidate. If I were the hot candidate, no chance.
I feel like Atlanta.
See, I think Atlanta's an interesting job because you're going to get to come in with a new decision maker, because they also fired Rich McKay today, their longtime CEO. That's the funky thing too about what's happening with John Spytek's going to get to hire a new coach in Las Vegas. It's still Andrew Berry in Cleveland, still Mike Borgonzi in Tennessee. So it's still Joe Shane somehow in New York. So I think the idea of you're coming in at the same time as a general manager, you can put together a vision together.
Yeah.
I think that makes Atlanta the most appealing of those jobs. I think talent-wise, roster-wise, I think you can argue New York. I think quarterback-wise, you can definitely argue Tennessee. I think Cam Ward showed some signs.
I will say, just seeing what I've seen on social media today and what we learned, whenever the Giants had the off-season Hard Knocks.
2 years ago, I think.
You, as Joe Shane, have to establish yourself as the decision maker. Or, because you can't split the decision, because there's so much stuff where Joe Shane liked one guy and it really showed that Dable liked another guy.
Yeah.
And I think that is what tore things down in New York.
Because if they're not good next year, you're not going to be the next guy. If you're the coach, you're not going to be the next guy who gets fired. It's going to be Joe Shane that gets fired.
Yeah.
And like, I don't understand why teams don't sync up like your general manager and your coach. Like, if you're going to clean house and get a shared vision.
That's why
again,
I'm surprised Mike
about?
McDaniel wasn't let go.
Who are we talking about, though? We're talking about Cleveland screwing this up. We're talking about the Giants screwing this up. We're talking about the Raiders screwing this up. These are screwed up franchises that don't win. And we wonder why. Because they make bad decisions. The all fruit of the poisonous tree.
Yeah.
Those organizations. Couple of more fast K-State notes that I did not get to and wanted to make sure that we touched on before we finish headlines today. Brian LePack is going to stay on the coaching staff. He had been promoted to offensive line coach last year. K-State hired a new offensive line coach, Mike Schmidt, not that one, different guy, not the Hall of Fame third baseman from the Phillies, different guy. And LePack is going to stay on Colin Klein's staff. He's going to coach the tight ends. I know a lot of people around K-State really think highly of Brian LePack as a coach, as a leader. I'm glad that Kansas State was able to keep him, retain him in some capacity. Also, a local tie to the transfer portal, former Linden Tiger offensive lineman Cade Massey announcing he's leaving Kansas State, hopping into the transfer portal today. That was announced today. A bit of a late portal entry for Cade Massey as he will seek a new college football home. That'll do it for headlines. When we come back, other than all of us, who were the losers from the Chiefs-Raiders game? And did anybody come out of that looking better for 2026? We'll discuss next on 580 Sports Talk. By 34 on 580 Sports Talk. Of all of the NFL games in history, Chiefs-Raiders yesterday was sure one of them. We watched it. I watched it. Watched every snap. I confess my attention wandered in a way it doesn't typically wander if I'm watching a Chiefs game. But that's because it was pretty unpleasant. And the Chiefs lost the game 14-12, of course. I had a text from the 316 on the text line. Raiders Chiefs reminded me of Jayhawks Wildcats 1987, the infamous toilet bowl.
I will say, while there's a crap ton of negatives, there's a couple positives out there.
Okay, well, let's start there then. Let's start.
I was glancing at the game.
What did you like?
I mean, it's only 4 weeks too late, but I like Rashad Smith out there.
Showed a little bit of pop in the running game.
The third string offensive line in front of him.
Yeah. At one point, he was averaging 5 yards a carry. I don't know what he finished with because I didn't go back and I think they should burn the box score of that game, frankly, and never show it to anyone ever again. But he finished 4.7 yards a carry, 12 carries, 56 yards, caught 2 passes for only 2 yards, but I don't blame him for that. That was quarterback play. Chris Oladokun, 11 of 17 for 58 yards. Over under 0.5 NFL appearances for Chris Oladokun the rest of his career.
Under.
Yeah, I think it's a really easy under.
He was playing to be, if he performed really well, he was going to be the number 2.
So,
that's what they wanted.
Like they gave him a chance to prove himself, and he did, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
This is so QBR, right?
Yeah.
I could not tell you how it is figured, but I do know it's a scale of quarterback performance from 0 to 100. These are the QBRs of the 4 quarterbacks that appeared in the game in order of highest to lowest. 16.4, 5.7, 1.6, 0.2.
0.2 was Chris Oladokun.
No, it wasn't. It was Kenny Pickett. 1 for 4 with 3 yards and an interception. And sacked twice. Yeah, man. It was just a grim spectacle. But yeah, Rashard Smith, I think that was what you were hoping to see from him as far as being a guy you think can be in the mix. I don't think you go into next year with him as running back number 2. I think that would be a mistake. I think you've got to add.
Yeah.
You got to invest some resources in that position.
I think it's clear they're moving on from Isaiah Pacheco after not having him dressed yesterday.
So, yeah, I think that's correct.
But the rest of my positives, there were no more on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, that's fair. I saw Jalen Royals catch his first 2 NFL passes.
Besides that, it only took till week 18, and they were like 2 yards from the line of scrimmage or less.
I also saw Noah Gray with, I had to have been a season high 3 catches. Is that a season high? No, let's see. It tied a season high. He had 3 catches against the Colts, and he had 3 catches against the Giants. They gave Noah Gray real money 2 years ago, and last year he had what he finished with.
I think it was 49. It was in the middle of last season.
49 for 437 and 5 touchdowns last year. This year, Noah Gray had 37 catches for 178 yards and no touchdowns.
But also, I think
they gave him real money, and they did not. They don't do anything.
I think they also schemed the offense totally different. Less 2 wide, less 2 tight end going out for passes. I think, like.
Probably to help the toward the end of the year, certainly to help the tackles. That was part of it. Anyway, your defensive. What would you want to say about the defense?
I think Noah Williams can be a starter on this team.
I think Noah Williams will be a starter on this team next year because I think they're going to trade Trent McDuffie. And even if they don't, I think they should move forward with the idea that McDuffie is a slot guy and a really good slot guy. And if they want to give a slot guy $30 million a year to go along with a right guard, they're paying $23 million a year, and a center they're giving as much money as they're giving Creed Humphrey, so we can give all these guys at not elite positions elite money. Go for it. But I do think that Noah Williams looks like a starting outside cornerback in the league. I think he plays with the requisite physicality and ball skills. I do. I think he is that guy.
While it took very deep into the season, we finally saw what we wanted, what we thought we would see from free agent acquisition Christian Fulton. He played pretty well yesterday.
3 pass breakups. So the Fulton conversation is interesting because, like, we've just assumed all season they were going to cut him. But if you go into next year and you do make a McDuffie trade, which again, I think that is very much on the table.
I think it is with the draft pick situation.
No guarantees, but I think it is. I think it is on the table as a possibility for the Chiefs. If that's something they do, give Fulton a full off season, hopefully one of health. And if you go into next year with him and Noel Williams as your outside guys under contract, maybe you re-sign Jalen Watson. Fulton's going to be cheaper than Watson next year. I would guarantee you that. That would give you an opportunity to use some resources elsewhere. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying it is more of a possibility today than it felt like even a month ago that Christian Fulton does play on the second year of that contract.
Also, where the heck has Jaden Hicks been this entire season?
Just
Like, there's just so much in the defensive backfield. Like,
It is.
where have these guys been?
It is as simple,
contributing so well.
It is as simple as this. Steve Spagnuolo doesn't trust Jaden Hicks. And that's all there is to it. I don't understand. I don't think people watching at home understand, but Steve Spagnuolo doesn't trust him. And it's clear that Hicks can do things like that. That deep ball he made a play on is probably the play that stands out in your mind.
Yeah.
That deep ball that he went and
started
made
the fourth quarter.
Yeah. That's a big time play. That's an upper echelon safety play right there. And he's capable of that, but he must make too many mistakes that we just don't see. And that must be why he doesn't get to play. Yeah. And I would like to see more opportunity for Jaden Hicks next year. I really would. I would like to see more of him and a whole lot less of like the Mike Edwardses of the world.
I don't understand why that was even. I got two more quick things here. Nick Bolton was everywhere yesterday.
Yeah.
He only had, 4 tackles, 5 assists. But man, he was all over the field.
Professional effort from the leader of the middle of your defense.
And that's why you paid him the money. Like, he was everywhere. And I will say this, he's a very durable guy. You see him go down? No, he's back in. He shakes off injuries pretty fast. And one more, and this because this is a little near and dear to my heart. Next year's camp battle for special team guy, it's going to be Kevin Knowles versus Nazeeh Johnson.
Well, Nazeeh Johnson's not under contract. You think they're going to bring him back?
I think they're going to give him a 1-year non-guaranteed contract.
I think Knowles, we just haven't seen enough of Nazeeh Johnson on defense, and not this year. And what we saw in past years wasn't terribly promising.
Well, and the problem is he was getting better in preseason and then he got hurt.
Yeah, and we didn't see him until this was the only game he played all year, right?
He played last week.
Oh, yeah, he did get in the game last week. Yeah. Forgive me, I haven't been.
But he did have a huge tackle on special teams yesterday. I don't know if you missed that.
I probably did. I'll be honest
punt.
with you.
You probably turned away on the punt. He stopped. The guy caught it and he tackled him inside the 15.
So those were the winners from yesterday. The losers, in addition to every single one of us. Obviously, we talked about Oladokin. That was really bad, and shows that I think it's going to need to be 2. It's going to need to be 2 veteran quarterbacks that the Chiefs bring into camp to run the operation, to compete, and then like one that you can cut, but one you're going to have like a battle for who's going to be the backup, and you got to have multiple guys unless you keep Buechele around. But
I thought there was some deal with Buechele going back to the Bills for the postseason or something.
I don't know anything about that. The broadcast was really bad. I think Chris Lewis is a good professional play-by-play guy, but Kyle Long in his first game just seemed to want to prove how funny he was. And those two guys were auditioning for like a Vegas residency at a comedy club. It was excruciatingly bad. Do not subject me to Kyle Long in the broadcast booth ever again. That was bad. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it ever again. Let us consign it to the dustbin of history. When we come back, is Travis Kelce history? Have we seen his last NFL game? We will make our official predictions. Will we see Travis Kelce play an NFL game again? We'll make our official guesses. We'll go on the record. We'll put our names on it next on 580 Sports Talk. 547 on 580 Sports Talk. We had a texter earlier from the 785 who, and we'll have time enough to do the full autopsy. Goodness knows, we got a whole off season ahead of us. Can't shoot our wad one show, but texter saying that there should be a lot of blame assigned to the front office for what went wrong with the Chiefs this season. And look, the old saying we've said a lot of times in this program, failure has many fathers. And, or I think it's success has many fathers, but failure also has many fathers. Like, especially in team sports, where it's never just one person, never just one player, it's never just one thing that you blame. And yeah, the front office, there have been some missteps, and the bill came due for a lot of those this year. And there was a lot from this texter from 785, and some I agreed with and some that I didn't. But one of the things they point out was that one of the problems this year was Travis Kelce drastically aging and not identifying and drafting his replacement. I think that replacing Travis Kelce is going to be just about impossible. I don't think you replace the unique talents of one of the great tight ends, and you certainly in NFL history, and you certainly don't, I think, replace his spot in the Chiefs offense and what he meant in his prime, in his pomp to the Chiefs offense. There's just not going to be another tight end who comes in and does what Kelce did in his prime. So I don't point the finger at Brett Veach to say you should have had a succession plan for Travis Kelce. There is no succeeding a player like that, a unique talent like that. And I actually thought that end of the year, you look at Travis Kelce's numbers, they're pretty good. They're better than last year's numbers. But it was very sad to watch if that was indeed his final NFL game yesterday. He finishes with 2 catches for 10 yards because he was the only pass-catching threat in the offense, and the Raiders double-teamed him the entire game. And look, prime Travis Kelce being double-teamed, no problem. He'd zig and he'd zag and he'd find the space, and Patrick Mahomes would get the ball to him in that space. But the zig and the zag aren't there like they used to be. So it goes for all of us, right, as we age. And the Chiefs did not roster a quarterback yesterday who was talented enough to get Travis Kelce the ball in the limited space that he had to work with. Kelce spoke to media after the game. He was non-committal about whether or not that was his final game. Chris Jones talked as though it was not going to be his final game. Kelce has been on the record saying he'll take his time before he makes his final decision. So let's put our names on it right here, right now, if we can. Spencer, give me the date and the decision for Travis Kelce. The date on the calendar, when are we going to hear the decision, and what is the decision going to be?
All right, well, I will preface this with going into this season, I thought that it was going to be his last season.
Uh-huh.
And I thought he was going to ride out on the sunset. And obviously that didn't happen. And the way the season unfolded, I think it causes him to change his mind.
Okay.
I think he's coming back for year, 14, 15, 16?
Be 14.
14. I think he comes back for year 14. And I think we get that announcement week or two after the Super Bowl.
Week or two after the Super Bowl. Give me the date. Come on. Let's be bold. Let's put our name on it. Super Bowl's the 15th?
No.
Or is it the 8th? It's the 8th.
Still the 8th.
Yeah.
The 2027 will be the. I think, let's say the 25th, he announces it on New Heights, because I believe Wednesdays are New Heights.
New Heights is a Wednesday. I was going to see if you would be clever enough to put it on a Wednesday. So I think he's going to say that he's done. I do. I think that he will be at peace with that. He will be at peace with everything else in his life beyond football, and just ready to start that next chapter, ready to move on to that next chapter. And I don't think it will take much longer after the Super Bowl. I think it will be I think it'll be a little earlier. I'll say it is announced on New Heights as well, but I'll say it'll be the post-Super Bowl edition. So I'll go February 11th is when we hear that Kelsey says he's hanging it up.
Hold on. Do we think he'll announce it on New Heights, or will he do what his brother did and call a press conference?
No, I think he'll do it on the podcast because
Okay.
the podcast wasn't really a thing when Jason was playing.
I thought it was. I thought they started it.
Maybe they had, but it wasn't like a thing like it is now. They weren't breaking news. They weren't having Taylor Swift on the podcast.
I do find it very interesting.
There will be a press conference. Like there'll be like a retirement press conference.
Yeah.
But I kind of think he'll. Well, maybe if he retires, it'll be a press conference. Maybe if he comes back, it'll be on New Heights.
I do find it very interesting that now I don't know if this is like a Chiefs PR pressing him or something, but you remember a couple of weeks ago he was getting some slack because he said you'll hear from me on New Heights. I find it interesting that he did in fact speak yesterday.
Yeah, and
but I guess that also precludes him. He could speak yesterday and not speak at locker cleanout.
That's true. Yeah, and he may not want to do it. He may not want to do it that day. But no, I think the decision is coming before March. I think that'll be as a favor to his team, so they can get a jump on preparing for what I think is going to be life without Travis Kelce. We'll take a break. We'll come back with a final word after this. Time for the final word on 580 Sports Talk. We remembered how to do this after the holiday break. Spencer Dupuis, what's your final word?
Well, it may be all doom and gloom that the season has come to an end for the Chiefs. I think this may be the thing that the offseason that reignites the spark in the dynasty. And I say that because the Chiefs had become so ready to pick 28, 29, 30, 32, they're going to pick number 9 in the first round, 8 in the second round, and 10. Those are nearly totally preclude, just switching it by 100%, by doing a 180 on where they've picked in the draft before. They make the cap decisions they need to make. They could come back with if Patrick Mahomes is healthy and ready to go, I think this could be the best thing that the dynasty could have wanted or happened, not wanted.
The Chiefs lost their final 6 games of this regular season, and the losing habits that they developed in going 1-10 in one-score games throughout the season are troubling. And if the Chiefs are to move on and are to reclaim their spot in the AFC's upper crust in 2026, it won't be just as simple as, well, Patrick Mahomes will be back and all will be well. Most will be well. There's a lot of good that number 15 does for this Kansas City Chiefs team, but they need an infusion of talent. And as much as that, they need an infusion of discipline. They need to get back to doing the winning things, the little things that marked this team's ability to win for all those years, and the disappearance of which marked their inability to win close games this year. We're back tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.